But you also implied that not every risk is equally important. And so as you think about how do you deal with that? I mean, you could throw up a bunch of risks. How do you think about prioritizing risk?
Yeah, there are a number of things that we do. We can't, sort of at the heart of that is we can't eliminate all risk completely from the process.
Or it would take too long. So it's
or it
that
would be
balance.
so expensive that it wouldn't warrant, it would work against your interests in the long run. So we do a lot around prioritizing risk and helping to understand kind of what is most important. And part of what we do is a lot of, from a strategic standpoint, you're looking at assumptions. Where are we making assumptions about what users want or how easy something's going to be, or we're assuming that we can build, this efficiently, or that there are not going to be any surprises. So we look along kind of two axes around importance and evidence. So how important is this assumption to the success of the product? And do we have any evidence that we're on the right track, that these assumptions are right? And when you kind of look at risk that way, the team starts to see a picture of kind of where you run into kind of critical assumptions, the ones that can really sink the success of the project early. So that's where we want to focus. And so we place a heavy emphasis on early prototyping, making sure that we're out front collecting evidence that users can use the solutions that were the early vision. So design prototypes, or what we call proofs of concept, where there is some working code behind it. And, maybe it's testing an algorithm or integrating different data sources, and, we can generate a score here. And so, some of those early prototypes can be very lean. It might be a spreadsheet. It might be a pretty raw coded experiment in a browser, but we can use that, or it can be a click-through vision of what the design would look like. But here's how this person goes from point A to Z, completes the task. And early on, that's a big thing. We're trying to collect evidence, to make sure that those critical assumptions, that we have ample, or at least enough evidence from a lean perspective to say, keep going forward, or start to pivot. And often we learn some very important things in that process about, you're close, you're on the right track, but if it doesn't do this, I won't be able to sell it inside my organization, or I won't, we often run into, when is a task complete? Like, when have we completely solved the problem? And there's a little bit of guesswork up front. We make prototypes, and the prototypes, we put them back in front of users, and that helps us understand that, have we completely solved? Like, I helped you find a doctor. I helped you understand when their availability is, when to schedule it. But if I can't finish that off and actually get it to your calendar, or maybe send out a notification, it's not yet complete. And sometimes you learn things like that along the way. So early prototyping is a very important piece of that.
So what I hear you say, kind of the pattern that's forming, is that these product risks are grounded in assumptions that we're making. So we kind of unpack these assumptions. It's grounded in uncertainty. And the antidote to risk is these insights that we try to gain through prototyping, through user interviews, through various means, to begin to gain insight as early as possible that either proves or disproves a given assumption. I think, I know this is a factor for me. Like, I very often go in and make a lot of assumptions, but I'm usually not aware of it. Like, I'm kind of blind to my own assumptions. So the team helps me unpack that. And, And really through these early insights, we're starting to drive out risk. And we're driving towards some kind of key success factors.